Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something really quite disturbing. It's a story that connects this moment of just shocking violence with, well, a place you'd normally associate with healing and learning. This is our deep dive into what authorities are calling an alleged white-collar terror module, seemingly operating right under the cover of academia. We really have to start with the immediate, the raw event itself. Try to picture this. It's 6:12 p.m., Monday, November 10th, 2025. You're near Delhi's Red Fort metro station, gate number 1. Probably noisy, rush hour. Just a normal evening. And then suddenly, irrevocably, everything changes. A Hyundai i20 sedan, apparently just crawling in traffic, explodes. A deafening, terrifying blast. And the impact. It wasn't just the sound. It was devastating. At least 12 people lost their lives.
Yeah, and over 20 injured. We're talking severe burns, shrapnel wounds, the kind of thing that scars a city physically and, mentally.
Absolutely. Visible and invisible scars, as you say.
So the investigation kicks off immediately, right? But the trail. It didn't lead where investigators might first assume.
Not to some hidden basement in Delhi.
No, not initially. It moved surprisingly quickly away from the city center, bypassing the usual kind of militant hideout profiles. It led straight out of Faridabad in Haryana to this sprawling 76-acre campus, Al-Falah University, in a village called Dhauj. Seems quiet, right?
The university. That's unexpected.
Exactly. And that's really the core of this deep dive. How did this place, a center for medical training, for education, become the alleged epicenter of a terror plot, according to the investigators anyway?
And this term they're using, white-collar terror module, what does that signal?
It signals sophistication. It signals that the suspects weren't just, foot soldiers. The allegation is the education professional status. These were tools, part of the cover.
And this is where it gets deeply unsettling. The prime suspects. They weren't hiding in the shadows in the typical sense. They were doctors.
People in white coats. Respected figures.
That sense of betrayal, of trust being weaponized. So what we really need to unpack here.
Yep.
Okay, so let's track that investigation. Floodlights are on in Delhi. Personnel sifting through the wreckage of the I-20.
Right. And even as that's happening, the intelligence starts pointing outwards, towards Haryana, towards Al-Falah.
And this wasn't just some isolated plot, according to the NIA, the National Investigation Agency.
No, they believe this cell had direct operational links, ties to Pakistan-based groups. You mentioned Jaish-e-Mohammed earlier, and also Ansar Ghazwat Hind.
So, established terror networks.
Correct. And the white-collar element suggests these professionals might have been key for logistics, maybe funding, and certainly providing that crucial cover.
And the network wasn't just Delhi, Haryana either. It stretched further.
Oh, absolutely. The alleged connections trace from Jammu and Kashmir, a very sensitive region, right across northern India into Uttar Pradesh, UP.
So we're talking about a multi-state conspiracy.
Complex.
Deeply complex.
Yeah.
Which makes the discovery in Dhauj village itself even more staggering.
What did they find there? This is on the Tuesday, November 11th. That's right. Tuesday. Haryana police, the NIA, they swarmed the area, and importantly, the big find wasn't actually on the university campus itself.
Okay, where then?
In a rented hideout, nearby in the same village. And the scale of what they uncovered, hard to overstate.
Give us the numbers.
They seized 2,900 kilograms of explosives.
2,900 kilos.
Yes. Specifically ammonium nitrate and RDX. Military-grade stuff. Plus assault rifles, ammunition, a whole cache.
My God. 2,900 kilograms. What does that even mean in practical terms?
Well, security experts were quick to point out that's enough firepower to level city blocks, plural.
So this wasn't just for one more attack like the one in Delhi.
It suggests something much bigger was planned. Systemic terror. The logistics alone. To gather and hide that amount of dangerous material near a university. It's audacious.
Truly staggering. Okay, let's talk about the individuals. The alleged white-collar suspects. Who was driving the car?
The prime suspect, believed to have been behind the wheel of that I-20, effectively turning it into a human-guided missile in a suspected suicide attack, is Dr. Umar Un Nabi.
Dr. Umar Un Nabi. Tell us about him.
He's 35 years old, an assistant professor at Al-Falah, originally from Pulwama in Jammu and Kashmir.
An assistant professor.
Yeah.
And he'd been there long.
No, that's another key detail. He'd only joined the faculty a few months before the blast happened.
Wow. So a relatively new hire, a professional, an academic, allegedly pivoting to this. It really underscores that idea of cover.
Deep cover. And he wasn't alone.
Who else was involved?
2 other doctors were arrested right there at the hideout in Dhauj, alongside the explosives and weapons, Dr. Muzzamil Shakeel and Dr. Shaheen Shahid.
Where were they from?
Both from Lucknow and Uttar Pradesh. So you see the geographical spread again. Kashmir, UP, converging near Delhi.
A cell made up of doctors, academics.
Precisely. And there were these little anecdotes that emerged later from students on campus. Small details, but chilling in hindsight.
Like what?
Students apparently whispered that these particular doctors, they kept to themselves, rarely seen mingling in the cafeteria or sticking around after class to chat.
They call them shadows and scrubs.
That's the phrase, yeah. Shadows and scrubs. Isolated figures.
But wait, if they were so isolated, shouldn't that have raised some flags? If students noticed they weren't integrating, wouldn't the university?
That's a great question. Perhaps that very isolation, that lack of integration, maybe that was part of the plan. Operational security, you know.
Operating the margins of a busy campus.
Exactly. It might have provided the space they needed, and the fact that the investigation quickly led to 3 more doctors from Al-Falah being detained.
3 more.
Yes, also on that Tuesday, pushing the total arrests in this whole multi-state dragnet close to a dozen people. It really suggests a network leveraging that professional trust.
So the university finds itself in an absolute nightmare scenario, its own faculty implicated. How do they react?
Swiftly. They had to. By Wednesday, November 12th, the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Bhupinder Kaur Anand, issued a formal statement.
What was the tone?
Expressing deep sadness, naturally, but also absolute condemnation of the apps themselves. A very strong denouncement.
And crucially, what did they say about the university's connection, or lack thereof?
They drew a very clear line in the sand. The VC stated categorically that the university shared no connection with the accused beyond their status as employees. Essentially saying what they did on their own time away from here.
A necessary legal and PR stance, I imagine.
Absolutely critical for them. They were trying to firewall the institution from the alleged actions of individuals.
And there were rumors flying around too, weren't there? About the university labs?
Yes, damaging rumors, claims that university facilities, maybe the medical labs, were being used to, cook up chemicals for bombs.
That sounds far-fetched, but terrifying if true.
The university tackled that head on. They stressed their labs were purely for standard MBBS student needs, things like dissecting cadavers using safe, approved reagents for coursework. Nothing more sinister.
They mentioned strict safety protocols.
Yes, emphasized that. Basically arguing, our labs are for education and research under supervision, period. No secret bomb factories here.
Did the police findings back any of this up?
To some extent, regarding the car at least, Haryana police did confirm that the specific Hyundai i20 used in the blast hadn't actually entered the main campus driveway for about 10 or 11 days before the explosion.
Okay, so that perhaps distances the campus itself from being the final assembly point for the bomb.
It helps their case that the act itself wasn't finalized on campus grounds,
No.
but it doesn't answer everything.
What's the lingering question then?
The big one is, even if the university wasn't complicit, was it an unwitting staging ground in some way?
How so?
Investigators are likely digging deep into whether those medical labs or maybe other facilities could have been subtly misused, temporarily repurposed under the guise of legitimate work.
Why the focus on medical or science labs specifically?
Well, think about it. Unlike, say, the history department, medical and science labs handle controlled substances, specialized equipment.
Right. Chemicals, precise measurements.
Exactly. And they often require access at odd hours for experiments or study. It offers a potential cloak of legitimacy. Investigators would be poring over access logs, supply orders.
Looking for anomalies. Small amounts of precursor chemicals ordered. Unusual access times.
Precisely. Could knowledge or low-level materials essential for bomb-making have been acquired or even tested under the cover of routine academic work? That's the suspicion they have to rule out.
And the scrutiny isn't just on the medical school now, is it? The whole Al-Falah structure is complex.
It's huge. It's not just medicine. They have engineering, education, commerce, paramedics, all operating under this one large charitable trust umbrella.
So calls are growing for a wider audit.
Yes, a full audit of the entire trust structure. Finances, personnel, hiring practices, across all departments.
And there were reports about hiring practices specifically.
There were reports, yes, noting what seemed like an unusually high number of faculty hires from the Kashmir region recently.
Which could be perfectly innocent, of course.
Of course. But in this context, the question investigators have to ask is whether legitimate institutional practices, like hiring, could have been unknowingly exploited by external groups looking to infiltrate.
This whole situation obviously went right to the top. nationally.
Immediately, Prime Minister Modi reviewed the crisis with Home Minister Amit Shah. His statement was unequivocal.
What did he say?
He vowed the perpetrators will not be spared. And significantly, he framed it not just as an attack, but as a conspiracy against the nation's soul. Strong words.
And that high-level attention triggered a much broader security response, didn't it? And it wasn't just focused on Dhauj.
Not at all. The ripple effects were immediate and widespread. It showed how seriously authorities took the discovery of this kind of educated, embedded cell.
What actions were taken?
Well, for one, a massive sweep operation was launched back in Jammu and Kashmir. Over 1,500 people were rounded up in a parallel crackdown targeting suspected terror sympathizers or overground workers.
1,500 people detained. That's huge.
It shows the scale of concern. And closer to the main investigation, authorities arrested a preacher based in Haryana, Maulvi Ishtiaq, for alleged links to this network.
Suggesting the network had ideological or spiritual support elements, too.
It points that way, yeah. That the cell wasn't operating in a complete vacuum. It had logistical and possibly ideological tendrils reaching beyond just the core group of doctors.
And cities elsewhere felt attention, too.
Oh, yes. Places like Hyderabad, far to the south, immediately increased patrols, started doing more vehicle checks. There was a clear sense that this wasn't just a Delhi-Haryana problem. The discovery of this module sent a chill across the national security apparatus.
So when we try to synthesize all this,
Yeah.
connect it to the bigger picture, what's the main takeaway here?
I think it underscores a really profound and, frankly, chilling truth that evil or extremism, it doesn't always look like you expect. It doesn't always wear a militant's fatigues.
Sometimes it wears a white coat.
Exactly. Sometimes it wears the respected white coat of a healer or the tweed jacket of an academic, and that alleged betrayal. It cuts so much deeper in a society like India's where doctors, teachers, they're held in such high regard. They're seen as lifelines, as ethical guides.
And the university is caught right in the middle of this storm now.
Completely. They're trying to find their footing, appealing publicly for peace, normalcy, and academic discipline, trying to shield their thousands of innocent students from the fallout.
While pledging full cooperation with the NIA.
Yes, they have to. They've stated they stand in solidarity with the nation. They're trying to manage an institutional catastrophe.
The long-term implications, it feels like this incident forces a difficult conversation.
It really does. You see this clash, don't you, between a fundamental societal value, which is trust in our educational institutions, our medical professionals, and the brutal reality that these very institutions can potentially be infiltrated, their legitimacy used as cover. It's a worrying paradigm.
So thinking about this for you, our listeners, just consider the level of discipline, the sheer diligence it must take to maintain such a complex, deadly secret, while functioning day-to-day in a public professional setting like a university, juggling lectures, maybe seeing patients, interacting with colleagues, all while allegedly part of this plot.
The compartmentalization required is immense.
It really makes you think, how do institutions, medical, academic, maybe even large corporations, how do they balance that essential need for openness, for trust, for the free exchange of ideas?
Which is vital for learning and progress.
Right. How do you balance that with the constant underlying need for vigilance, for security against threats that might come from within?
It's an incredibly difficult tightrope to walk. There are no easy answers.
No easy answers at all. And the full story here, of course, is still unfolding. Justice, hopefully, will be the final plot twist. I'll have to leave it there for this deep dive.